get going with Sky.
Ruben, if I can start with you. Obviously, you had some strong words after the Brighton game, I know that. What response have you seen from your players after what you said?
First of all, I want to talk about that. I was talking more for myself than from my players, because I was talking that, and you have to find out a coach that starts a job and lose 8 games, I think, 7 games in the first 10. So it's more for me. I was talking more about me than the players. I also talk in the same response about I was not helping my players. And if you look around, every time I speak, and I speak a lot, every time you push about the players are not good enough, I never put the spot on my players. So I understand. I gave you that headline, and I'm frustrated sometimes, and sometimes I should not say that in that terms, but it is what it is, and that's it. Sometimes it's really hard to hide the frustration in some moments, but the good thing is that I said the same things in a different way in the dressing room 5 minutes before, so the response was quite normal, because I'm really blunt with my players, and they train well, they are ready for this game, and let's see tomorrow.
And Harry, how does that land in the dressing room when you hear your manager describe the team as possibly the worst in the club's history?
No, I think as players, obviously after the game, we was really frustrated, disappointed, coming off the back of a good away performance and then beating Southampton. Going into the game, we was confident, and we felt like we had the belief that we can go and beat Brighton, and ultimately we didn't perform well enough on the day. So we've got to look at ourselves. We've got to take responsibility on ourselves, and as an individual, that's what I do. I go home and think about how I can help this team improve and get back to where we want to get back to, and that's challenging a lot higher than we are in the league. So for me, it's about us players just taking responsibility on ourselves and improving individually, which will help the team improve.
Harry, you've played quite well recently. I know things haven't been going so well for the team, but the manager said last week you're a leader again. Do you feel as though it has benefited you not being the captain of the club? Because, as you said recently, your form over the past 18 months has been quite consistent.
No, I wouldn't put it down to that, to be honest. Whether I'm captain or not, I do see myself as a leader in this group of players. I'm experienced now. I've been at the club over 5 years, and I know that in times when you play for this club, that there's so many ups and downs, and every game that you lose, there's a lot of scrutiny on the players, and players get targeted, and I think that's part and parcel of playing for this club. You've got to accept and take the responsibility on, and I think, look, I look at previous players, and I've spoke about this before, the likes of players like Wayne Rooney and David Beckham. They had large amount of scrutiny on them, and they was world-class players. So if it can happen to them, it can happen to anybody, and it's part and parcel of playing for this club. And listen, playing for this club's a huge privilege and a huge honour, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
And just regarding that scrutiny, I mean, Joshua Zirkzee had some dreadful stick a few weeks ago, and he's played well since. Did you ever speak to him, because you've been through similar experiences at times?
No, I sent him a message privately after the game. But listen, Josh is a good player. You don't play for this club if you're not a good player. He's got to bring that belief out and that confidence out in himself. And I always say in football, there's always another game, and there's always a next opportunity. And with Josh obviously coming on against Arsenal, he really changed the game for us. And then to score that winning penalty, probably give him a lot of confidence and belief that he belongs at this club. So the fans have been brilliant with him. Lots of trophies in club football. But at the moment we're not playing well enough as a team, and the league table shows that. So I can only keep going on about it. We've got to take responsibility on as players. We've got to stop looking for excuses and blaming things. And it's really important that as an individual, you improve yourself, you come into training, you give absolute everything, and that's only what we can do.
Sorry, Ruben, I take on board what you said right at the start, but if you're taking responsibility away from the players, then you put it on you, and someone's has to take responsibility for the fact that Manchester United are 14th in the.
I'm not taking responsibility from the players. What I'm saying that is the message that you guys show was that I was putting on the players. What I was saying is that you have to look really hard to find the team of Manchester United in 10 games that lose 7 games. In that is on me, because it's the same players doing worse with a new coach. That's my only concern in the moment. But I'm not taking anything from the players. What I'm saying is that we have to improve in the details, and I explained that. The way we play, we are too nervous with the ball, too nervous, really anxious. And then if you have a little bit experience in this game, when you fall in this type of context, it's really hard to go up, especially when you are a massive club. So that was my only point. It was the best point to do it after that loss in the way I do it. Maybe not, but it is what it is. And I'm like that all the time. So I'm not taking a responsibility from the players. I'm saying, I'm really, really direct in things. I'm saying in this moment, we are performing really bad, and our results are really bad in the moment. So it's everything together, the players, the staff, the technical stuff. So I'm not taking responsibility. I'm just pointing that I'm the biggest responsible of the performance and the results, because I'm the coach and I have that responsibility.
Ruben, you've spoken a couple of times about the anxiety that you feel sometimes at Old Trafford. Is it becoming harder to play there at the moment as opposed to being away? And is there anything that you can do to combat it, that feeling of kind of nervousness, anxiety when you play home games?
I think that is clear. I could say different things and say, no, it's the same thing. We have the support of the fans. No, we are more nervous playing at home than away, because we lost a lot of games, like 4 games in 5. So it's getting harder. What we can improve, I think, if we don't suffer the first goal, like in the 4th minute, and I remember like it's 4th minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then it's really hard to calm down the team. So the first thing in my mind is they cannot score. We need to score the first one. If we score the first one, I think that will change, and we will play better at home in the league. So that's it. I think it's really clear. We are really anxious playing, especially at home. And we are suffering goals, and then it's really hard. So that is getting harder to play at Old Trafford.
Jamie, I think you said previously, a couple of weeks back, there's a storm coming. Yes. So it's fair to say you're in the storm. Yeah. Can it get any worse for you? You know, for this team in terms of your position, your performances, the results. Can there be thunder and lightning in the storm?
I think the most important thing is to think that we can improve right away in the next match, and then it's like that. The football can change like that. We can have a lot of ideas in thinking that it's getting worse for that reason or the other reason. Imagine that tomorrow we don't suffer a goal in the beginning and we score and we play well, and then we go to Fulham and you can win it. That will change even the environment here and everything. So I don't know. What I knew since the first day is that when I arrived and I see it, I knew that changing things, we are going to suffer. For me, it was really clear. But in this moment, I don't want to say that it's going to take a lot of time. It's getting really hard, and you guys are here for a long time, and you get lost after loss. It's really hard for everybody, and I know that. Sometimes I show that frustration, but I don't know. We can change that tomorrow.
So may I just ask you both this next question, please? You just mentioned it again then, that you're really nervous. As a player, does that help you to hear your head coach say, you and other players are nervous?
No, I think we spoke about the first goal at Old Trafford, and it's not teams are coming to Old Trafford and opening us up and tactically breaking us down. I think anybody who was at the game against Brighton, it was a 50-50 game. It could have gone either way, and we gave them a goal early on, which we knew we had to stop. We spoke about it in the pre-match. So we've got to stop giving away that first goal. That's the first and foremost thing. I think the first goal against Nottingham Forest, against Bournemouth, was a set play. The first goal against Southampton was a set play. So these aren't things that what are tactically a problem. These are things like you've got to go into the game and be focused and mentally ready to go and win a football matches. And football matches are sometimes defined on small margins, and at the moment we're not getting them small margins because we're not mentally focused enough to make sure that they go our way. So we know things can turn, and like the boss has said, tomorrow's an opportunity for our players to go out there, put on a performance and get the win, and then go into Sunday. But yeah, of course, we take each game as it comes, starting with tomorrow, and tomorrow's another opportunity for us to make sure that we move on from Brighton and put things right.
I didn't say I was nervous. The team was nervous. I was frustrated. Frustrated is different from nervous. And if you say it's good for the players to see the coach frustrated, maybe not. But I didn't say I was nervous.
You're saying your players are nervous. We are nervous.
Yeah. As a team, because it's always we.
Does that help the team?
Important players that from Rangers that don't play, and we have to know the new players to understand the way they play. With the fullbacks are really high on the pitch. They have talent to score in the final third. So it's one more difficult game is really important for us because we want to skip playoff. It's really important to have time to train. So I expect the same thing that we. With the last games, a really tough match, a lot of physicality, with also the fans from Rangers making some noise, so we are prepared, our fans are prepared, we want to win.
Start with Marcus Rashford. What's the latest?
Yeah, we saw Marcus Rashford training today with the rest of his teammates. Obviously, his representatives have been very clear that he's been working really hard in training, and we saw him today out there on the training pitch. But, as we know, he's not been involved in Manchester United's squads in the last few games. Ruben Amorim taking him out, and the suggestion is he's going to have to work his way back in to that starting lineup. And, of course, all the noise continues about whether he's still going to be here when the transfer window closes. Now, what we do know is that Marcus Rashford's representatives have been out in Europe speaking to the clubs. We know that yesterday they were in Lisbon speaking to representatives of Barcelona about a move there. Now, the noises from Barcelona at the moment is that their priority is to re-sign players, that they need to get their PSR regulations, their financial fair play regulations sorted before they can think about incomings. So what that means is it's a bit of a wait and see situation with them. We also know Borussia Dortmund have approached Manchester United about the terms it would take to agree to a loan deal for Marcus Rashford for the rest of the season. But there's an understanding, I think, that the finances there might make that difficult. So it'd be fascinating to hear from Ruben Amorim today whether there's an update on Rashford's situation, whether we can expect him to be involved in that Europa League game against Rangers tomorrow night at Old Trafford.
Yeah, just wonder as well, Ben, if there's going to be an update on Alejandro Garnacho. It feels like he's a wanted man at the moment by Napoli, maybe even Chelsea as well in the Premier League. Do you think we could see him leave the club this window?
Yeah, Garnacho was out training with his teammates today, and it's a similar situation in the sense that the beauty of this deal from a United's point of view, if someone's able to match their valuation of the player, is that it would be pure profit set against their PSR commitments, I suppose. So because he's come through the academy, if they can get anything between 50 and 60 for him, that can go into the pot for United to strengthen. So what it would do is open up a number of options for them potentially to be able to bring players in, because of obviously, as we know, PSR for United, like many clubs in the Premier League, making transfer dealings very tight in this window. Now, as we understand it, Napoli and Chelsea both interested in Garnacho. Napoli, our colleagues in Sky Italy have been telling us, are looking to do a deal at around €50 million. United looking for something like £55 million. So you can tell, obviously, there is a discrepancy there in the valuations. Clubs need to come a little bit closer, I think, for that deal to be done. Say the finances involved could be something that unlocks United's ability to sign any players in this January window and bring them in to help strengthen Ruben Amorim's squad.
Yeah, and what's been said about incomings then? Any sign of any players coming to the club?
Well, I suppose the closest sign is the fact that we've seen photos of the Manchester United Director of Football Negotiations, Matt Hargreaves, out in Milan. He's been speaking with Lecce representatives about Patrick Dorgu. Now, he's a left back. He's a player that United value at around 25 to 30 million pounds. Now, Lecce want a bit more than that, and I think our understanding is that if they don't edge up on that valuation, edge up on that potential offer, then no deal will be done in this window. But you can see why United are looking to strengthen in the fullback positions. Left back, left wing back, an area where Ruben Amorim, the club, have identified they would like to bring a body in if they can. At that sort of money as well, when you consider what I've just been saying about the Garnacho potential deal going out, that's the sort of money that is feasible. But obviously, still plenty of way to go on that particular deal. And we also know that United are exploring options across a number of positions. We've spoken many times about whether this squad is suited as it stands to the sort of football, the style of football that Ruben Amorim wants to play. So hopefully the Manchester United manager, who's been quite honest, I think it's fair to say, in recent weeks, hopefully he'll give us a little bit of an insight into where they are with some of those deals when we speak to him. As you can see, the press conference room well set here at United's Carrington training ground, and we'll be expecting to hear from the Manchester United manager and alongside him Harry Maguire from around 1:15 this afternoon.
I look forward to hearing from both of them. Ben, thank you very much. Guys, we'll get on to the sort of potential outgoings in a moment, talking about the likes of Rashford and Garnacho. But Dan, just on, he was talking there about, you know, the need for sort of a number of positions really, but it's pretty obvious that they need to bring a left back in this window.
Yeah, for Amorim's system, they don't really have players that are fit for that role. They've got players that can play on the left-hand side, but I wouldn't say any of them are natural left wing-backs. And then obviously there's been issues with fitness as well around some of those players. They're not going to be able to make wholesale changes in this window. January is never a great window to do that anyway. But I think they're going to have to prioritise. And it seems like Amorim has prioritised left wing back. You could argue there's other areas that need filling as well, but I think it's pretty clear from watching Manchester United that they don't have anyone that's fit for purpose in that role right now. So making a new signing there is what he's decided is the priority. And just sort of listening to what Ben was saying there about Rashford and Garnacho, who are both, you know, training today, does it feel now that it is Garnacho who's most likely to leave in this transfer window after all this talk about Marcus Rashford?
Yeah, I think because Rashford's deal will probably be more complex, but it's interesting to see that the wingers are the players that are being linked with moves away, knowing that, you know, the Antonys, the Rashfords and the Garnachos are the players that you thought, mainly Garnacho and Rashford, that you think that they would, you know, mould the team around because of what they've done in previous years. But it's clear that United are really trying to get behind what Amorim's trying to do with his system. You know, he's mainly used to 2-10s. You know, they've got Mount, they've got Eriksen, Kobe Mainoo, those players that can play in that position as well. And maybe he's realised that those wingers aren't mainly suited to that position. Doesn't work in the 10, doesn't work when they're playing wing back. So it makes sense for them to move them on. And I think Garnacho's move is probably easier to do. Well,
Dave, this morning, Good Morning Transfers, we spoke about, I suppose, United's point of view and where Alejandro Garnacho could sit if he stayed there. But tell us why Napoli want him.
Well, I've done some more homework.
Good.
Emma, you're lucky
like
about
this.
that. And we've got some more numbers to kind of go through right now. And this is the rank in the Manchester United squad of Alejandro Garnacho in the Premier League. And this is a key competition for Manchester United. And a big reason why clubs are interested, the Napolis of the world, the Chelseas of the world, is the statistics are very good. I think one of the things that we forget about is Garnacho is still 20 years old. One of the stats that we brought out last week was players under the age of 21 in Europe's top 5 leagues. Garnacho has been directly involved in more goals than any other player in all competitions. But just looking at the Manchester United squad in terms of goals and assists in the Premier League, 20 already, ranking him third behind both Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford. Similar with shots, key passes, fifth in the squad. So part of his game he needs to improve. We've seen him beat players time and time again, look to shoot rather than slip a ball to maybe Erasmus Højlund or find a player on the back post. But moving to shot creating actions, progressive carries, these are all things you want your wingers to do. And Garnacho is number one in the squad for both progressive carries and carries into the penalty area for Manchester United. This is something that we're not really seeing under Ruben Amorim, that if Garnacho does stay at the football club, something that he can improve there. But also his dribbles, mentioned before, into the final third, drawing fouls. But more importantly, that last one at the bottom, tackles in the final third. I think Garnacho is quite active in that first action when defending, especially high up the pitch. And that's something we saw in the FA Cup game recently against Arsenal, where he robbed the ball, basically created a goal for United. So I think Garnacho is obviously a player that has got massive potential And for 55 million quid, it's difficult for Manchester United not to accept that bid because of PSR and the left wing back that we previously spoke about.
Yeah, really interesting. Anything sort of surprise you looking at that, or the other way, or opposite of that, in contrast, and not at all?
No, not really. I think it just shows what a good footballer he is, and Dave's right to call out that he is only 20 because he's been playing for the last few years. You do tend to forget he got in at such a young age to begin with. I think if you were to write a list of Manchester United's top 5 best players, to put it simply, I think he would probably be in there.
Sure.
But I think the problem is for Manchester United is, if they're looking to reshape the squad, how many sellable assets do they have within that squad that are also dispensable? Doesn't mean Garnacho's not a good player. It just means that, there will be interest in him and they'll make that pure profit on him. So that's the reason that they'll be looking to sell him, not because he isn't a good player. And it's the Napoli thing that really, really intrigues me. I think Manchester United fans would hate to see him stay in the Premier League and playing for someone else. I think that would be really tough to watch. I think it's a more acceptable loss if he's to go to Serie A and play for Napoli. And obviously, with him being Argentinian as well, Napoli have had a famous Argentinian player in their past, haven't they?
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I mean, Ben spoke there saying ultimately they want to get between 50 and 60 million, and that would be pure profit, of course.